hope you have a nice April. It's been quite funny recently. Okay, let's tune in. I got a couple of questions like somebody was asking me about, and I wanted to do the Q&A like for few of you who are on the journey with me. And today I want to talk about guides and starseeds and how it all kind of fit into our reality. I think the first thing that I have to say that a little bit about like how you incarnated, because when you incarnate, when you decide to come here to this human experience, you choose your parents and your like a kind of a point of challenges that you're gonna go through. You usually think that it's, oh, this is perfect match, you know, it's super toxic and like it's so difficult and I want to experience that. But along the way, when you just drop in here with all these like a plan, what you're gonna experience, first you of course choose the parents, the country, the culture you're gonna incarnate into, all right? But along that, you create a team of the helpers that are gonna help you navigate this human experience. Usually those are other entities, light beings, you know, they call them angels, but there are many different types. I don't know all the types, and I'll say I don't know anything about angelic realm much. I don't work with angels particularly. I have Archangel Metatron with me because he helps me with to navigate through the negative thoughts. There's, let's say, he's kind of like a specialty. He's the type of a guide. He always show up for me when I have like negative thoughts running in my mind. But practically, before you incarnate, you create all these teams. Like you create all load of like a lot of light beings are practically working with you all, or they are actually learning from you as well. They are learning to guide you. So it is like it works both ways. They're helping you and you helping them as well to grow. So this is like kind of how it works, but they are usually an aspect of you, because if we think about the unity consciousness, like everyone talks about, like we are one and everything is interconnected, yeah, they are aspect of you. We are all source experiencing itself somehow, like, you know, experiencing itself as a human, experiencing itself as an angel or as another guide or like a galactic being, you know, from high, like different type of dimensions or frequencies, higher frequencies usually. It's all source experiencing itself. That's why they say that we are all one, like, you know, because they are all aspect of you, because we all come from source. Now, the way you connect with your guides, that's very individual, and this is very unique to every single person, and it depends as well on your contract, what you have. If you are the soul who is mission based, so you have something called a galactic team, which you created to help you with the mission. And then here, you know, it always depends where you at in your consciousness and how is your frequency in your body. How much did you clean up, purified? How much you are actually able to hold higher frequency in your body. That is sort of a key to work with certain councils as well. It depends what you do on the earth plane. You know, let's say if you start really working towards the humanity and you start doing really some like a good stuff and you are working on yourself, you might get a different assignments. That is usually done this is decided by your higher self, of course, but the higher self is different than the guides, okay? Higher self is consciousness itself. It is just going inside of you and it is like guiding you constantly. Higher self filters everything. So what you're practically doing in here is that you are merging your higher self with your human self. So you are bringing more of these multidimensional aspects of you into this physicality. So we are not going anywhere. You know, the ascension is physical. You are doing this in the body. You are preparing the body to being the sort of vessel of being able to astral project, having a contact with extraterrestrials. You know, you are merging these two worlds into one in here. That's what ascension is, actually. You're not going anywhere. Unless you have agreements, like, you know, there are a lot of agreements we have. So usually the stuff about the guides is you have first a one guide, which is like this, somebody like when he's standing in the foyer and just introducing you to the other guides. So this is one type of a guide. Is usually you have this type of a guide, which is doing this type of work, that is actually preparing you. First, he's communicating with you solo with you. You might have a solo just communicating with one solo guide for a very long time, until you are ready. Only this is between your higher self and that guide, if they're gonna bring another guides in or not. But we have more than one guide. We usually have, they say, more or less 3 guides you have, I think. And there is always one from the angelic realm. That's usually a lot of healing. They do a lot of healing stuff. A lot of Reiki healers work with the angelic realm. I work with extraterrestrials, like I prefer them. Like, you know, I like the technology and I like the laser things and med beds and, you know, going on the craft. But that's because my consciousness is there. If you have tons of limiting beliefs and fear, you're not there. You cannot connect with them. That's very unusual. Or if you are like suppressing this kind of a connection, if you don't want this type of a connection, then you kind of refusing the guides, or you working only with the source energy, then that's, you know, but you still have that option. You know, you still have that option. I mean, why to limit yourself just for the source if there is so many amazing light beings that you can work with, and they can actually help you with a lot of things. So there is it's like this kind of a basic stuff about the guides. We have you have a couple of guides, I don't know how many. Then you've got galactic team. Then you have a family of light, and then there is a plenty of other light beings that you can connect with. But you usually use always one of your guides which you trust the most to bring the others over. If you would like to experience like unconditional love, that is the best thing to do, is to connect with your family of light, with your star family, especially if you're Starseed. Now, one note about the Starseeds is like, I got a girl, she's coming actually from the angelic realm, which is amazing. She's super sensitive. These people, like these humans, these souls in the human form right now, who are coming from the angelic realm, but they are really high frequency beings, and they are extremely soft and extremely sensitive. So these people are beyond like what we call empaths. Those are like really extremely sensitive souls, and they could get shaken up by like any like a violent act. I would say that for them must be very difficult actually to be as a human, because the people would sense that angelic essence from them, and they might try to take over, you know, and try to like crush them, or like you know, because it's the human nature as well. It's not pure, right? we are doing it. I mean, we are like stripping all the bad stuff of us. You would probably have to do your own research if you're coming from that realm, like if your original essence is coming from, I mean, if your first incarnation was, let's say, in the angelic realm, you will carry this essence in you. This is gonna be one of the strongest in you. You know, we all come from the source, all right? So it's like you can imagine that the source is decide to experience itself. So it's like a burst into one stream, which called angelic realm, all right? And that stream just splits again and creates another branches, which goes to that type of angelic realm, that type, archangels, you know, you name it. Then there is another stream, which is like extraterrestrial. You know, let's say they are Arcturians, there are Pleiadians, there are Orions, Lyrians, there are so many. Okay, so that's why you can kind of like a little bit understand, but we all come from source. This is the pure energy of the source. We all come from there. Some humans on the planet incarnated only on the planet. They never, so that the source energy came directly to the human and experience itself here as a human and like incarnate it over and over and over and over and over and over, you know. So those are like, they call them earthlings. The other type of the people on the planet are like light workers and starseeds. There are as well ascended masters, and those people did something with themselves. They ascended. That's why they called ascended masters as well, because they kind of broke through the limitation of the human, and then their consciousness left, and then they usually have a option to come back and do something for the humanity. Then you've got other type of souls which incarnated as well in another part of the galaxy, and those usually called starseeds. There's a lot of starseeds right now on the planet because starseeds are the souls who incarnated as Arcturians or angels or Pleiadians, Lyrians, all sort of different type of light beings first, and then they have experience as a human. And then of course it depends what they did for the humanity or how much they get lost on the earth plane. They kept incarnating over and over and over to solve certain karma. Some starseeds never lived, never had an incarnation as a human, in the human form, like me, for example. It's my first incarnation as a human, so I'm lousy as a human, you know. I don't know how to do the mundane stuff. It really pissed me off. So, but for me, it's way easier to connect with the higher realms. For me, that was very fast, actually. You know, if I have a look on my spiritual journey, how I started to connect and how this actually came to my awareness. Of course, there had to be first some sort of shake-up. I had to wake up. So I had a Kundalini awakening, and that's a little bit a different story, you know. But a lot of starseeds or light workers I know had a Kundalini awakening for one simple reason, because they had a mission, and we sort of design it that way, that we're gonna have the Kundalini awakening, and because we were actually able to deal with that intensity of the energy that is that's called Kundalini. It's not sexual energy, that bullshit, you know, like people say, oh, Kundalini is sexual energy. No, it's not. It's the energy. It's the energy. It's intensity. It's a different dimension. You know, it's not sexual energy. That's two different things. So a lot of starseeds hold higher frequency. That's why they are extremely sensitive in the body to the chemicals, preservatives, I don't know, artificial colors and flavorings, what is in the food, what's in the water, in the surroundings. So they suffer a lot, and oftentimes they are already on some sort of diet because they don't have any other option. So their body is more prepared to hold or connect with the higher dimensional beings, for example. I love to connect with them, but it's used to be very difficult for me before I stripped out all sort of limiting beliefs and a lot of density, but that's a part of the Kundalini awakening. That's a part of the story. That's a part of the ascension as well. You know, what you're doing, you are practically stripping off from yourself or of yourself everything what was installed or imprinted in you as like a lower frequency stuff, limiting beliefs, all sorts of limitations, perspectives, you name it. Like that's installed in you because you are a product of your environment. So wherever you incarnated, in which type of family, whatever type of family dynamics, whatever they believe was, whatever type of like ancestral line that was, that's all imprinted in your humanness. But when you wake up, you obviously start noticing that something's not right. And your higher self will always create a way forward to get rid of those old imprints, which are actually not you. So once you start waking up, what starts happening usually, you don't know what's happening with you. You know, the body is in a mess. Everything is like, it's like something shaked up. But usually you meet a person who knows who is gonna tell you and explain you what's going on with you. So same like for me, like I met a person who told me that I had a Kundalini awakening. So, and I could dig deep into it and like try to find my ways how to navigate through it, because it was extremely difficult. And now I'm in a different space. So then you start usually like searching for your origins. You know, you might be drawn to crystals, books and things like that. Books are amazing tool for you to expand your consciousness. So I highly recommend to everyone who would like to learn more about the guides. And it's not necessarily really learning about the guides itself, but expand your consciousness. Because if you expand what's possible, then you get the connection. So I highly recommend everyone to read, if you want to really skyrocket the connection with your guides, or getting like extraterrestrials, doing some healing with them, and all sorts of things, read Dolores Cannon books. Convoluted Universe, 3 Waves of Volunteers. If you read a couple of those books, a lot of belief systems you have installed in you will have to fall off, because obviously it will stretch your mind to such an extent that you will know that the healing like is totally possible to do a completely different way. That's a one way of expand your consciousness in such a rapid way that will actually open you up into better possibilities to connect with all sorts of light beings. You know, and your guides are gonna bring someone in. Usually it's the first guide who is gonna introduce you to the other one, and that could be through dreams or through out of the body experience, or you can even have like experience of missing time, and when you go to the hypnotherapist and dig into that, then they will find out that you actually was exposed directly. You had a contact. They call it, you have a contact. So that's why you could have a contact, like physical contact with the light being. But that always depends on your frequency, how much frequency you hold in the body. It might happen to you that you are in a places like Mount Shasta, or like these high vibrational places. Even here in Ireland, Ireland has so much water, so it's totally possible here to connect, you know, and there's so many like high vibrational places. But there is as well, now they are a little bit disturbing the land, so there is a lot of like as well other bad entities kind of like popping up. But this is as well, see, if there is a fear, you will not be able to connect. So, you know, if you don't have a fear, let's say I don't have a fear. So for me, it was very, very easy to start connecting. But I did before a lot of work on myself. You know, I was meditating a lot, 3 times a day and such. And then usually people has to create their own way how they connect. That means your own unique way how you're gonna be connecting with your guides. Usually people start first with the cards, you know, the tarot cards. It's a one way of divination, automatic writing, and start to channeling, learning the channel. That's phenomenal, like a way, because like more and more you expand and open up and strip the limiting beliefs, more gifts are gonna come online, and more you're gonna be seeing multidimensionally, hearing, even like you could be hearing like, you know, different type of entities or angels. But you know, I hear frequency, because like extraterrestrials, they do not speak. Then you've got like trance channelers. That's a different type of like a way how to connect. But as usually that you remove yourself, and the other entity is using your vessel to channel through, and you sort of become that information and you just speak it out. But there is as well a load of things like around this, you know, you have to be always exposed to certain material. Some other entities would like to work with you and like bring certain like a material out for humanity. It depends on your own contract that you have, of course, as well. And that your higher self is always filtering up this kind of stuff. So you can pick up some books, read about it, just that you have a little bit more knowledge about how the other people are doing it, but you have to experiment with it by yourself. The way we connect, or when the interaction starts, there is usually you have some profound experience. That as well requires a massive amount of the trust. You know, so I think I heard Feel Good was saying that once, that you have to deserve to have that connection, and I agree on it. If it's going with extraterrestrials, that's something what you have to sort of deserve, you know, like the body needs to be somehow prepared, and it's not just the body but as well the consciousness in itself. Like you have to have expanded consciousness, you have to be aware, your higher self has to operate more inside of you. You know, your higher self is usually this infinity symbol in here, like above the head, what is pictured in certain traditions. It's those chakras above you. Some people call it your inner being. It's like, you know, that kind of the intuition as well. That would be when you are guided by your higher self. But when you start waking up, what happens is that you start working really with the energy. You start to be more aware. You start to be more energetic. You start to seeing everything through a different lens, through the lens of energy. That's what it means when you start waking up. You start waking up into there is something much more than just the body, that you are not the body, and you are not just the sick stuff in your mind. You are none of it. And you start seeing the differences. That's what it means when you start waking up. When the people say, oh, I woke up and I got a spiritual awakening. For the Kundalini, it's not the same. You don't have to have a Kundalini awakening to have a spiritual awakening. Usually these awakenings happen by like certain events in your life that shake you up. You know, it could be anything. Car crash, out of the body experience, or you might hit the bottom and start to meditate, and then slowly, surely, you start having certain mystical experiences. But that's usually happen, the mystical experiences usually happen when you have your third eye open, when your third eye opens. But from here to here, there's no path. You know, you don't really know how is this gonna play out. Only you know. No one can tell you how is it gonna be. So that's what it means when you're waking up. What we're stripping off first is the low density, the low frequencies in the body. So there is a trauma. We've got tons of trauma, like in the body, like especially if you had a complicated family setting, or coming from a toxic relationships, or was abused, or when there is a load of like this kind of stuff happening, the body is carrying all the information in the cells, and the cells, the first thing what you are doing is the cells are puking out the density. So it is extremely difficult. And what you don't need to even have a Kundalini awakening, you know, because the planet itself is already doing it. She is raising her vibration, and when the planet itself is raising her vibration, then all these dense stuff needs to come out from the human. So that's why we are all waking up. Some people will take longer, you know, some people refuse to accept it, but the world is just now big mess. So like this is a grand awakening. That's what the people are calling like the shift or ascension. But what it is that we are practically catching up, the body, our body is catching up with the higher frequency of the planet that the planet is holding. And we are fluctuating a lot. So sometimes you're gonna feel like a high, you're gonna have you know, good experiences, and sometimes you go low because you're gonna be constantly fluctuate. The body needs to get ready to be stable and hold a higher frequency. So that kind of takes a time, and that's a different video, that's a different topic. So in order to connect as well with your guides, you have to trust. There is a massive amount of the trust required on your part. That means you have to trust yourself. So if you don't trust yourself, if there is like, if you still have like a lot of mistrust in yourself, or you still feel there is a lot of programming and a lot of like, you know, the ego is very loud. Ego is the punish guy, the guy who punishes you, you know, that chatter who is telling you, oh, you're a loser, you should get up and do this, and you're lazy, or you cannot be like that, you know, we have to just keep moving. That's your ego. Ego is loud. Guides are it's very subtle. And there is only, you know, I always say that there is only unconditional love in the higher realms. And it's true, you know, there is, the good guys are only just all like about unconditional love, and you will feel it. It's all kind of, it's very loving way how you are guided. They tell you, we need you to rest, or just stay in the bed, sleep more, don't eat that, you know, don't go out, stay at home. You know, you will be more and more navigating this individual. It's a really individual process, and it requires of you to be a little bit of the scientist on yourself. There will be a certain like a point in on your journey when you will be 100% sure that it's your higher self, or if it's these are the guides, or these are other beings. You will maybe even start seeing multidimensionally. So some people are coming to the earth plane with the multidimensional viewing, or they can see multidimensionally. You know, some of them are there, but that's very rare. There's not many of them. Usually most of us, we have to deserve it. We have to really do stuff on ourselves to actually get there. That means meditation. Usually when you are able to overcome your body, then you are able to easily connect with whoever whatever light being you would like to connect to. And then, of course, more of your, when the vessel is more purified, in yoga, it's really funny because yogis are gonna tell you, you become receptive to the grace. But what it means really is that you become extrasensory. So you will be able to reading information from all of it because you will be part of it. That's the oneness, that's the unity. We are all like part of all the structure. Like in the quantum field, nothing exists outside of you. You projecting everything into your own reality. So even the guides, it's your own making. It's you are the one who is creating that. They are your creation because they are the source experiencing itself through you, because you want to have the experience with like another entities, let's say. So, you know, you are creating that experience. But of course, it's energetically, your body and your consciousness has to be there. There is a Reiki healer here, and I'm always asking her like how she's going, because since I know her, she's still in the same spot. And in the meantime, I expanded into completely like different dimension. And which is like was puzzling me. Why is that when she is actually working with the energy for such a long time, why she is not already working with extraterrestrials? And like when we talk about like this, we start talking about it, and she has massive fear. She's got a massive fear there around like entities and dark entities. But those dark entities are gonna attach only to the people who are actually have the fear, you know, because the fear is what is actually the gateway for the, let's say, dark entities to come over, to take over you. You know, even I know people who had experience with a dark entity, and they just like approach it with the open heart, and the entity could not exist in that frequency. So there is always like, if you have a look on everything through the energy, through the lens of the energy, there is no need to be afraid. I think we are breaking out from the fears in general, and this is one way is actually to, when you're connecting with your guides, is actually this is as well a breaking out of the fear around the unknown, around something which is not physical. Human is naturally afraid of the unknown, especially now, like this. More you strip off what you are not, and you are sort of recovering from all the trauma and calling home all the parts of yourself that splits off you when you experience the trauma. You become stronger and stronger and more whole, and there is a more space for your higher self to actually exist in the human form, and there where the magic happens. So practice, you know, you have to practicing like connect. That's all you have to do. Because when the people say that they hear their guides, they hear their own voice, they hear themselves. It's not possible that you hear someone else because it is filtered through your channel. Like, you know, this is your channel. So if you hear a conversation in your head, that means you are tuned into that station, you know, but you are still filtering it. That means you are hearing yourself. You are hearing talks, and you can really easily navigate if it's, you know, what it is. Some channelers like were explaining this, who are like conscious channelers, you know, who are not who are not trance channelers. Some of them say that there is this like a breaking point when you are doing a lot of automatic writing, then that turns into you can hear, you know. The way, let's say, I do it, when I close, like, for me it's a little bit different because my third eye is pulsing constantly. So, you know, like I can close my eyes and I can see the colors. I call them in and I can see different type of orbs. And I'm having like a full list of the people or people of the light beings that I am mapping out. I usually stretch my hands and feel the energy, or I lie down and I tell them to just like come over. But you know, before that, of course, all my chakras are open, and you know, like I see the chakras when I am like meditating, or when I close my eyes, I can see the chakras as well. So I can see through my third eye. So it's a different kind of a story, you know, because I worked on myself and as well I had a Kundalini awakening. So that's kind of, I would say that's a purpose of it as well. It's a part of my mission to go through this transformation and being that vessel that can allow and the other entities come through. Also consider I'm an artist, so you know, for me focusing for hours on some artwork is very easy. I don't have a problem with the focus. People usually have a massive problem with the focus, especially these days. So quieting the mind and focusing on stuff, it's like for them it's almost impossible. But you know, you can explore different modalities, how to connect. You can as well like take some, you know, Reiki courses, like to know how to work the energy. That will open you up as well. Like, you know, there is so many ways how you can actually start connecting with your guides. But the easiest and fastest way are tarot cards and oracle cards, as most of the people do. You know, they don't, some people don't even hear them, you know. Like, let's say for me, I'm more telepathic. I have knowingnesses. It's like this absolute knowingness, and then I just get like a download, and that's just kind of go through on its own. And I practice a lot automatic writing. I like writing. I always did that. And of course I channel the art. So for me it's natural. And so this is just a little introduction about like the guides, but it all depends on your own contract you have. Some people, I heard that they don't have any guides, but that's super rare. Some of the souls actually chose to incarnate here without having a team of the guides and see how they can actually handle it. But one thing to know about them, like there is so many different ones, and you can always ask them to help you out with all sorts of things. So I think I'm gonna do a different part about how to communicate with them, I guess, because I have a load of different type of ways how I communicate with the guides. A brilliant book is from Sonia Choquette, I think her name is, The Psychic Pathways. That's a brilliant book about the guides. I think she wrote a couple of other books about the guides. That's a great book where to start. You can just do like research, like on the blind, you know, because you're gonna be exposed to the right information. That's why I don't want to give you so many tools. I more like give you sort of information that you go on your own and start creating your own way forward, because that's what you came here to do. You know, you came here to create the ascension itself, your life, your reality. So you need to learn how to create it. So the best way how to do it is to experiment with it and try to like okay, see, this person is doing it this way, this person is doing it this way, there is this book, then there is this book. You can read all these books and then you can start experiment and try to connect your way. Some people connect, usually those people who had out-of-the-body experiences, they kind of are more open to connect. A lot of people have fear, so they usually work with one angel on some healing and that's it. And then they use source because there is a fear. Other people do not want to mix up with the different type of energies, like because extraterrestrials are really difficult to hold. You know, they are really high frequency, so it's not easy. Source energy is very easy because you're part of it. So that's kind of easy to download even into the body. If you're sick, you can download that. That's as well a part of yoga. Like, you know, what do you think you yogis are doing anyway? You know, there's no such a thing like Reiki healing in the yoga, or like a healing, this type of healing. It's not, because it's part of it. You first preparing the vessel, and the vessel heals itself. The healing is a byproduct. So I don't believe in this type of healing what like you go to the healer. I don't do that. If I have a cyst, I just call extraterrestrials to take it out. They tell me to be a little bit on the diet for a while, and then I ask them how is it gonna go, or you know, if I'm gonna be awake, if I'm gonna remember, or if it's gonna go through the dream state, or if they are gonna bring me to the craft or stuff like that. And usually I don't remember anything, but I usually wake up and I have marks on my body. You know, that's always depend on your own agreements as well, because they know that I can do that. I rather go to them than to go to the doctor in here, because the doctor here always mess me up. So I do everything with them. I did the breast cancer with them. I did ovarian cyst with them. They did something, some work on me like yesterday. I had something like stinging on my heart in here a lot. So you kind of like, when you're lying down and you invite them into working on you, you can feel like all sort of like a sharp pain here, pulling out these, you know, let's say Orions made a human form, so they can always check on you. They are quite like a serious, and the energy is a little bit like butterfly, like a, it's kind of like going like a butterfly wings flapping inside of you. That is like, I had them mapped out. I think I'm gonna do a separate video on that one, because it's really interesting how you can, what you can do with them, because some of them have like technology, you know, like Arcturians have technology, so you can ask them to put some devices inside of you. But this all depends on your agreement, you know. So I'm not saying that this is gonna work for everyone, you know. And this is not like I'm not a medical or whatever, like, you know. This is because that's always depend on your belief system. If you believe that if you have like a bladder calcification, or you've got a cancer, and if your belief system is that you have to go to the hospital, like go through all, I don't know, the chemo, then that's your belief, that's gonna be your reality. So you cannot like do it with extraterrestrials, you know. I mean, if you don't believe that you can do it with extraterrestrials, if you don't even have the connection with them yet, so that's gonna be challenging. But, you know, I'm doing everything with them. I'm just thinking how I'm gonna do it now, because I have a broken tooth. I had this conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, let's do the challenge, like who is gonna grow the tooth faster? Because everything is possible, like the body is very intelligent, like, you know, you can, and you because you create your own reality, so you can create all sorts of things if you know how to. You have to use a structure, you have to understand how the structure works. If you know how the quantum field works, then you can create whatever, like, you know, you can create the way forward very easily. You just have to create it. You have to know how to create it, how to create the opportunities for yourself, to be able, let's say, to see the medbeds. And I'm not saying that it's gonna work for everyone, okay? Like that's, it works for me. It's good to know about these things. And if you can take something from this video, then it's get exposed to Dolores Cannon books and approach it with the open mind, because I know people are having, it's not that they are, most of the people are afraid, you know, so it's good to, and especially now, like the fear is kind of a big one. So it's good to read those books, you know. I hope this helped to someone. This is like a little bit of introduction about the guides. I know it's a little bit messy, but that's came through, whatever came through. And I'm gonna do a second part about let's say, healing with blue avians, or how you call them, blue avians. I love them. They're brilliant. They have this laser technology. They can fry some sort of stuck emotion, but in that case, usually you have to be first exposed to what type of emotion it is, why is it there, and then they can fly it out. And that's really handy, you know. Because yoga is amazing, but you know, you have to do it for 40 days, twice a day. So, you know, this is faster. So I prefer extraterrestrials, and I prefer to working with a shadow because I found it faster to really kind of deconstruct and uncover and illuminate and address, and then you shift afterwards. It's automatic. That's what I do. But I think it's a part of my assignment. I can see that I went through so much physical pain like all my life that I understand why I had to go through it. So otherwise I would not be able to teach this. Okay guys, I hope this is something, and have a nice April. Cut some cords, do some cord cutting, because I have to say that I had some cord which I didn't even know I had, and I had a massive energy leak for about a year, more than a year, and I didn't know about this. Which is interesting that I didn't know about it, but I understood one thing, that I have to go through all these lessons to be able to actually give you this information. So here you go, and cut the cords. It's perfect time. We are moving forward. We are moving forward with what we've got already developed. That's a tiny little like update. I will be doing updates separately, so be good, and I see you next time. Bye.